Welcome back to the program. Joining me now is the Shadow Assistant Health Minister, Stephen Jones, and in Canberra, the National Senator, Matt Canavan. Gentlemen, thanks so much for joining me. Stephen Jones, first to you on this iron ore inquiry. Labor was open to the idea yesterday. Bill Shorten said he'd like to see any terms of reference. Will Labor pursue this if the government doesn't?
Well, the government's got to sort out what its position is on it at the moment, and they seem to be torn asunder on it. You've got Conservatives like Corey Bernardi, want to have an inquiry into halal certification but doesn't want to touch iron ore. On the other hand, you've got Matt and others who are out there saying we need to be looking into this. Frankly, it's a bit much to ask the opposition to land on a position while the government hasn't got one. I think there are more important things that we could be inquiring into. If you want to look at iron ore, the government's over-reliance on iron ore and the minerals industry, and no strategy to transition out of the mining boom. Now, that's something that we should be talking about, should be inquiring into, and I'd like to hear what the government's got to say about that.
Matt Canavan, what is the government's position on this iron ore inquiry now? It seems a bit confused today. Has the Prime Minister capitulated to some of the big miners like BHP?
No, not at all, Laura. I think it's something we need to look into, to whether we should have an inquiry. We need to have an inquiry before we decide whether to have an inquiry, I think, and I listened closely to Stephen there. I don't think he's got a position either. Look, these claims have been made the last few months. I am not convinced that we need a parliamentary inquiry at this stage, but I'm always open-minded. And I had a chat to Senator Xenophon last week, and what I suggested to the Economics Committee and to other senators was that why don't we get BHP, Rio and Fortescue in to talk to the Senate Economics Committee, which I'm a member of, and we can ask them what their views are on this and then make an informed decision. I think we've got to be careful about continually running around and willy-nilly setting up inquiries. We should think about it before we act. We've already got 12 inquiries in the Senate Economics Committee at the moment. We've got to be careful about putting up more. My proposal got widespread support, and Senator Xenophon did not move his motion last week, so I suppose we'll wait and see when we come back what his position is.
Okay, and this needs to go through Cabinet, and no doubt will be debated, so no final decision, but Matt Canavan, they're quite open to it. If I can go to some of the budget measures as well, and to your portfolio area first, Stephen Jones, as Shadow Assistant Minister for Health, I know you've been looking closely at the PBS. Do you welcome yesterday's announcement, and are we going to see cheaper medicines?
Look, Australians want and deserve cheaper medicines. I welcome the fact that the uncertainty around the conclusion of the pharmacy agreement has been done. But the one thing that the government has direct control over, that it could withdraw from the Parliament today, is the proposal that it has before the Senate to introduce additional co-payments for our medicines through the PBS additional co-payments arrangements, and to freeze the safety net on PBS. The net effect of these two measures is going to increase the price of medicines for everyone in Australia by more than $5 a prescription. This is something that the government could move on immediately. It wasn't withdrawn from the last budget. We oppose it, and I'd like to hear what Matt's got to say about it, because if he's concerned about the cost of living impact on families and particularly pensioners, this is something that they could work on in the Senate.
Matt, just quickly, your response?
Well, Laura, I am concerned about the cost of living. I'm also concerned about the cost of government of these various programs, and I think we need to be mature about this. And unfortunately, the Labor Party at the moment doesn't want to have a mature debate about government spending, and what we've said is we want to see efficiencies in these programs, and if we can achieve that in other ways, in consultation with the sector, well, we'll do that. Now, if we can't, we have to think of another way to raise the money. There's no way of spending or providing these very subsidised medicines and other medical services other than taxing people or through co-payments. The Labor Party introduced a co-payment.
Let me interrupt you there, Matt. There was this guy called Menzies.
And
he introduced
it's supported
it
by both sides of politics.
Okay, I do want to ask Matt Canavan quickly about this, what we've seen report yesterday, a group of 15 MPs meeting next week, pushing the government to amend parts of the childcare package, the impact some of these measures might have on single parents and stay-at-home mums. Matt Canavan, I know you've been concerned about some of the changes in this area. What specifically will you be asking for in terms of amendments?
Well, Laura, I'll just correct the record there slightly. This group is being formed to look at the long-standing issue associated with the way the tax system treats single-income families relative to double-income families. It's something that's been exacerbated in the last few years.
So that could be looked at in the tax white paper, but there's some more immediate measures in the budget which you are concerned about.
Well, I'll say two things. So absolutely, you're right. Those broader issues will be canvassed through the tax paper process. I've also said publicly myself, and I'm not pretending to speak on anyone's behalf, but I am concerned about the interaction of the Family Tax Benefit B changes with the proposed childcare payments, and I'll be looking very closely at those when they come forward into the Senate.
Okay, well, Stephen Jones, that does show that perhaps the government is willing to take a pragmatic approach there and look at a family tax benefit. But we've seen this indication from the Prime Minister as well. So will Labor take a pragmatic approach as well when it comes to some of those issues, or are you outright opposed?
We'll take a principled approach. We've already told the government we will support them on their small business package. We agree that running a stimulus package through the small business sector, that has merit. We'll support them on that. We'll have a look at what can be done in the area of childcare. But let me say this, Laura, if Matt's saying that we shouldn't be taking money off one group of low-income families and giving it to another group of families, then he's right, and I agree with him. I don't support, Labor doesn't support what the government's trying to do on Family Tax Benefit Part B. And if that's what he's saying, he's right, and I agree with him and the other 15 in his ginger group, that the government should rethink this. It's wrong.
Okay, I quickly want to get to one
just to
last...
Just to clarify, Laura.
Just quickly, Matt.
I'm not calling it a ginger... You there? Sorry, just to clarify, I'm not calling it a ginger group. I'm calling it a garlic group because it's not quite as tangy as ginger. So,
okay, thanks for clarifying. Just quickly on a serious issue in Southeast Asia at the moment, the turning back of boats from some of those key countries, Malaysia included. This is out of the Abbott government playbook here, Matt Canavan. Is this really an unintended consequence for one of your key policy areas?
Not at all. It's up to each individual country, of course, how to handle these matters in their own territorial waters. Of course, we've taken a very principled and strong stance saying that we had to stop a people smuggling trade, which was increasingly not a trade of people seeking political asylum. It was a trade of people seeking economic asylum, and I can completely understand why they want a better life, but we had to act strongly to stop it. Even the former Foreign Affairs Minister, Bob Carr, the Labor Minister, admitted that, and we had to take strong action. Now, what other countries do is completely up to them. All
right, Stephen Jones, quickly your response to this. Should the government be stepping in?
I don't think anyone can claim that what's happening to the Rohingya in Burma at the moment is people seeking economic refuge. Clearly there is persecution going on there. There's not many people around the world who wouldn't agree with that. Well, I'm glad that you've clarified this. My view is quite clearly, yes, every government has a sovereign right to make its own decisions around its border policies, but if everyone is pushing these boats back to sea, that does not solve the root problem about how we deal with persecuted minorities in country and on borders, and it gets back to what Houston was saying when he did the comprehensive review. That's retired Defence Force Chief Angus Houston. We need some regional solutions.
Stephen Jones, Matt Canavan, thanks so much for joining the conversation today on